The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson. We are back. Mets in the Zone. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. It's been a while. Murder's on the disabled list. Robert hasn't joined us. But old reliable Dodger fan Bernie Rose. We're going to talk. Welcome back, Bernie. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
First, I want to say best to Mert, and he's home from the hospital and hanging in there. So
Absolutely.
We wish him love and luck. And that's about it. And his girls too, his daughters and Peg and his granddaughter. Raise me.
Yeah, daughters, granddaughter, wife. You know, they gotta all just hang in there. And
a guy who's had all the love in the world, and he's struck with this. It just makes me sad. And to the point of tears every day. Anyway, let's try to get a Mets show in, and I want to first start with because the Mets were struggling all year, and we didn't expect them to finish well. There was no playoffs for them. But, Bernie, you're a Dodger fan, and you had all the expectations in the world this year. It was there were no major injuries. You kind of cruised through the season. And it's best that you just tell us what happened.
Well, there were major injuries to the pitching staff. The whole pitching, the whole rotation was gone.
That's true. I was talking about the infield and the outfield. And
right. I don't know what happened there. Mookie did not get one hit in the 3 games. Freddie got 1 hit. And frankly, the rest of the team wasn't good enough. I don't know how they won 100 games. The bullpen was great. Mookie and Freddie had a great season. Everybody else pitched in well enough, but once the pitching rotation got decimated, I knew it wasn't going to be a World Series. I was hopeful, but I thought they'd win a game or 2. That was bad.
Right. You wonder what's better, making it and all those hopes and what have you, or not making it and simply the season disappears. But I was very disappointed in the Mets. I can't hold that in.
No, of course not.
Scherzer, I was amazed they did that poorly. But, before the season started, Diaz got hurt, and something told me then that they will never be able to make up that superstar in the closer position. Whoever took over would be out of sync, and everybody in line would be pitching in a situation he wasn't comfortable with. And you don't get comfortable being a closer in 20 minutes, and that's about all it took for the season to dissipate. But it was sad. What came of it, the way I see it, is Uncle Steve accepted the fact that he couldn't be in in player evaluation. He's not a professional. He went out and hired Stern, who reputedly can build the ball club. He has before. And my question to you, Bernie, is Counsell going to be the next manager?
Well, I kind of get the feeling he'd like to stay where he is, but if he's not staying there, he very well could be. He handles himself pretty well. I like the way he handled Milwaukee. He just never had quite enough to get him over the top, maybe, but you could do a lot worse. I think he might be a good man for the job.
Can he handle New York, though? That's a big question.
He's
Milwaukee.
A big boy.
Right.
I remember him winning the World Series with the Florida Marlins. When he was a kid. He was a little kid, and he played great. He was a fireball. He was, he had chutzpah,
Right.
Excuse me. He exemplified, he had the excitement and the push, the drive, and that's what that team had, and he was a big part of it. He's had a great career as a manager, I think. So you could do a lot worse. Looking back on the season, it's a shame. I don't know that it's Buck's fault. I remember you, and I remember all you guys. When Diaz went down, there was a big lull. There was like, this, and it would turn out to be.
It took the heart out of the fans a lot, because all expectations were squashed at that point. We were talking, before he got hurt, we were talking 90-plus games. And
yeah, sure.
That was the highest amount of games that we've predicted on the show. 5 years that we've been doing it, we never had the optimism to predict 90 wins. And
isn't that something? And when it happens, then they have the year they had. But why do you feel that all these batting averages just took a dive? I mean, what is it with that? McNeil won the batting title. Freddie choked that batting title out, by the way, but he should have won that easily. But the last week he got cold, but that's a year ago, so we're not even going to talk about that. But his average and everybody, their averages went in the toilet, and I wonder what explanation there can be for that.
We must get in the habit of not thinking that average is important as total on-base percentage, that type thing. We lose track. There are a lot of players that are very, very effective with low batting averages. And, they teach you in the minors to elevate and hit home runs. And to do that, there's going to be a lot of strikeouts and low batting averages.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
That's what they paid the big bucks to. These guys that make big bucks, it's just like Ralph Kiner. Home run hitters drive Cadillacs, and it hasn't changed much. But
you know what? You know what? I mean, and a lot of that is true, and a lot of the teams are going that way, and the Dodgers probably may lead the pack with that. But when you take a guy like Max Muncy, who hit 35 home runs again for the fourth time already? But did he hit? Finally broke 200 somewhere in August and finished barely over 200. What did he hit? 210. But that 210. There was a couple of years back he hit 270 with 35 home runs. That being said, he still knocked in over 100 runs. But I would say to you, and maybe with some of these other players as well, that becomes a very unproductive 100 RBIs and 35 home runs, because when you really need it, you're striking out. And they emphasize the walk. They're emphasizing get on base. You know, when we were kids, there was no on base percentage plus, but all right, walks are important. They always were. But these guys, they end up looking for the walk too much, and they take a cold third strike in the 8th inning, in the 9th inning, in the 7th inning with the bases loaded and 2 outs when they should be swinging because they think it's 3-2. I'm going to walk in the winning run. It drives me crazy.
Could a lot of that be coaching?
Yes, I absolutely. I think they overcoach that. I don't know. I wish they'd get rid of Muncy. I can't handle it anymore. There's more, and I'm sure there's guys on every team just like that. Because if I'd like them to have a stat where you know how many times you screwed up with men on base and men in scoring position, and how many times you take a third strike just looking at the ball when you got to be swinging the bat.
Yeah.
And too many times, too many players. Now, you asked me earlier about the Dodgers. I never thought in the beginning of the season with Hayward and Peralta and Lux getting hurt in spring training, that was 3 positions right there that was going to leave them extremely in the hole. And I just felt, even 4 positions really, because Garcia was going to either be a backup or play a lot of second base because Lux was going to be at shortstop. So Garcia had to become the everyday shortstop. And they, in turn, I don't know how they won 100 games, but down the stretch, the last week or two and into the playoffs, those positions produced nothing. Of course, Mookie and Freddie produced nothing too. And there were other teams that were in the same ballpark with same players. And the Mets was a little different, but yet there was some of the same with the Mets as well.
Yeah, except that they crashed in April, not in September.
I think Roberts deserves Manager of the Year, frankly. This might have been his best year ever, getting that 100 wins out of that team. It's not his fault they went down. They had no starting pitching at all. They were counting all on rookies who would not have been even up this year if not for all the injuries. And Kershaw, who had a sore shoulder, and frankly, he could leave now. I mean, he was a great Dodger, but I'm over it.
Right. Which of the get to the Mets for a second? Which of the 4 prospects, Beatty, Alvarez, those guys, which of those guys show the most potential on who's progressed the most as far as you're concerned?
Alvarez got the early jump, and you'd have to go with him. His home run production, per at bat was pretty good. I think it tailed off at the end, but I'm not sure you saw enough of the rest of the guys. I think you got to give Beatty a shot, and you probably got to give Mauricio a shot somewhere. I mean,
he's got unbelievable power.
Yeah. You got to give them a shot. Like with the Dodgers, they got a guy, Michael Bush, who was minor league player of the year. But I was wanting him brought up earlier on, as you guys were talking about Vientos and Mauricio all season long. You know, and as it got worse and worse, you were wondering, where are these guys? Why aren't they bringing them up? You got to give them a chance.
Yeah, well, a lot of it is they don't want to give up that year on their contract before they become free agents. So
that's true. Yeah.
That could be it. I can't think offhand who qualified under that or didn't qualify for getting called up earlier. But it's what disgusts me most, and this is off the topic, how business is so paramount. It probably always was when we were kids.
Yeah.
But we looked by it. We read the newspaper from back page forward. And anybody not from New York doesn't realize that the sports section was on the back page. And it was like a Jewish Bible. You read it from right to left. But we read it from right to left. We didn't take much in, and what we needed to take in was an understanding, and it goes back to when the Dodgers left and the Giants. It was all business. It's all money. It's all greed. It's the same greed that in any other business. And that's really sad. What can I tell you? You look for the sport, and if the sport is a business, it takes a lot of the sprinkles off the ice cream cone of life.
Yep. But you want to get back to actually the Mets for next year. I'll tell you something that you may agree with. You know, they really need to get their pitching together because, frankly, some of the players they've got, you just put in one or two of these youngsters in there, I think they could all rebound. McNeil,
and Diaz,
the first baseman, the shortstop, these guys can do better. They can. Their averages can definitely be higher. They're certainly productive anyway. You know, your first baseman, your shortstop are productive guys. But they could have better years, too. McNeil could have a better year. Alvarez and Beatty and Mauricio, if you mix them into the lineup there and they produce, you could have an excellent lineup. But if you get a free agent somewhere...
Lindor, he didn't just meet expectations. Expectations are so high that he came close. You make $30 million a year or whatever he's making.
He makes a lot,
makes a lot for a long period of time. He's never going to meet expectations in that sense. But he came very, very close. You've got to like his fielding. He's top notch.
Yep. And if you look at
go ahead.
What's that?
I'm sorry.
If you look at the division you guys are in, I mean, this is a tough division, and it's going to be tough again next year. So the pitching has to be a priority somehow, some way. And you lost some guys too that are obviously gone, but I'm not sure how great they were to begin with. I never liked the idea of Verlander and Scherzer. I just thought wrong time, wrong team, and as it turned out, it pretty much worked that way. Although Scherzer did pitch in the World Series last night and actually pitched okay for 3 innings. But he didn't have a good year. Verlander was hurt for 2 months, and then he was just okay. Way too much money for too little production. And And I just felt, with the old guys like that, it's not going to work. Just like Mert was saying, how could the Jets go after Aaron Rodgers? He's going to be 40 years old. Mert was never for that. I know a lot of people in New York would argue, but he was never for that, and I wasn't so sure that, he wasn't right. And what happens? He gets hurt in the first game.
It would have been nice to give him a chance if
Of
injury,
course.
First play of the year. It would have been nice to see it play out.
A little bit anyway, yeah, absolutely. But I felt the same way with your pitchers. And yeah, Verlander almost went to the World Series too. But he didn't pitch that great. He was okay. But for $45 million?
Well, what do we expect from pitchers nowadays? Because we were ruined by Ryan and Clemens, who I contend both of them reached heights based on extra drugs, extra whatever they call it, PEDs or this, that, and the other thing. But my point is, how many pitchers beyond 35, 36 really do well? Yeah. I mean, some do, but you're right. Yeah.
Maddox was still doing it, but
if
it's hard to.
You're going to depend on them as an organization. You're right. that was a bad move right there. But the big thing is they're going to get Diaz back. We have when he finally does take over officially, Stern, I'm sure he's thought about this for a long time.
Well, I would imagine, yeah.
So, package 2 or 3 of these guys, these young guys, with maybe a McNeil, who did have not as good a year. And I like him. He's got a lot of versatility and a lot of heart. He hustles. He can play right field, left field, second base. But he just did not have a good year. No question about it. We'll see. Any final thoughts, Vaughn?
Well, we'll let the World Series play out, and then, we'll get into the free agent period and see where that goes, because that's really, they got to pick up 1 or 2 places, I think, in the free agent market. Wouldn't you say?
I just thought of the key question. Are they going to sign that big first baseman who hits all those home runs?
Well, they would have to, wouldn't they? I mean, there's been talk, and Boros is his agent. So you would think they'd have to, but the way things go, like I say, business. Well, there's no doubt about that. But you have to be competitive, especially, when you're in the same city with the Yankees. They had a down year, but, they're going to be competitive in the free agent market, or they're going to do something. They don't want to have another down year. It's going to be very interesting off season.
Have they officially brought back Cashman and Boone?
I have not heard.
Oh, I haven't either. But and I, as a Yankee apologist, if not a fan, Boone won over 100 games for 3 years. So I would say, given all he's had to have learned just by being there, I would say give him a chance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And Cashman's history, you got to give him a chance too. And we'll see what happens with them. I'm still waiting for Hicks to materialize with the Yankees. That's not going to happen. He was my guy. Anyway, thanks for a good show, Bon. And this one was for Mert. We're thinking about you every day, always thinking about you. And keep that chin up.
Enjoy the rest of the World Series.
Yes, all of us do. I
miss Corey Seager.
You know who the Dodgers are always going to miss is Trey Turner.
Yeah, well,
I thought he was a complete package. I think.
Yeah, but I miss Seager more. I mean, this guy, he just produces in the clutch, and he's doing it again. And I guess both of them just wanted out. I know Trey Turner's wife wanted to live in the East Coast. That's what I heard. So there was never any chance of signing him. I guess Seager wanted 10 years. I guess they offered him a lot of money, but they didn't give him 10 years like the Rangers did. So, and now the Rangers are in the World Series, and they're 2 wins away from winning it. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
I thought he was nuts going to the Rangers. I thought he was absolutely nuts. And so he's been there 2 years, and 2 is the number. 2 more wins, and he's another world champion.
Wow. Boach, congratulations to Boach. If you go all the way, that'll make 4.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And not that his ticket hasn't been punched to the Hall of Fame.
No, but what a feather in his cap. Wow.
Absolutely. And good luck to Dusty. Retiring. He finally won last year, at least. And
did he retire?
He retired officially.
Good for him. You know, he's done enough.
Absolutely. He's our current ambassador to baseball, or whatever you want to call him. He was a treasurer for all these many years. He greeted Hank Aaron when he hit the 747th home run, along with a kid named Roland Office. I don't know if you remember that. He's from Sacramento, and he played on my buddy's American Legion team. My buddy Manuel Perry coached him in American Legion ball, and that's got to be a thrill to be a coach and amateur coach, and to see a kid go all the way to the bigs.
Sure.
He and Dusty greeted Henry Allen, and that's cool. That's cool.
Oh, so, absolutely. I always had a soft spot for Dusty. I didn't like it that he was managing the Giants, but because he was a Dodger all those years. But
he was a Dodger.
He's a great baseball guy.
So was Reggie Smith a Dodger, and he became a very productive Giant. I don't know if you remember with Reggie Smith or not, but
I remember, but I really don't remember him going to the Giants. But sure, I remember Reggie Smith.
And
with the Red Sox and then the Dodgers.
Another one who was a Dodger and a Giant was Darryl Thomas. And Tom Haller was a Giant and a Dodger as well. There weren't many of them over the years, but some big names there.
Absolutely.
All right, Barn.
Hey, good show, Ralph.
Good show, Barn. By the way, congratulations on recovering from trigger finger. Tell the audience what that's about. You didn't have to shoot a GOP, did you? With the
I didn't have to what?
With the trigger finger. What? You're recovered. You had some surgery, and what?
Yep.
What is that?
Well, they got to put you out like they do for a colonoscopy. You're kind of twilighted, so you don't really feel it. They have to release the tendon. They don't cut anything, vital. They cut into your finger, and because your finger gets stuck, or it swells up, and it just keeps on happening. I went through 3 cortisone shots over about a 14-month period. Sometimes it never comes back, but with me, it always kept coming back 4 or 5 months later, and they can only do 2 or 3 cortisone shots. So this time I size up when I can do it. I timed it, and they did it the first week of October. It's wrapped up for 2 weeks, and then you start therapy. It's still swollen. I still can't bend it all the way down, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't get stuck, and I'm trying to work out the swelling and kind of get all my movement back.
Beautiful.
But it's when you want to go play piano and go do a show, you can't do it right away.
Right. But you were back last Friday.
I was. I was able to do it. I mean, luckily it's on my left hand, so it's not as intrusive to what I do. If I was a lefty, it would be probably, but not on the keys anyway. But anyway, hopefully I'll get it all back together.
Any truth to the rumor that they're calling you the comeback kid?
Yeah, that's true.
And
maybe
by
I
the
get
way,
comeback player of the year this year.
Right. You will always be a kid to me, Bon.
I hear you. I understand.
You understand. All right. Talk to you soon. And,
sounds good.
Comfortably Zoned Radio, my guest on the Met Show. I'm his guest, actually, because his name is Bernie Rose. And we miss Mert, but we missed Robert Cole this evening, too. And hoping he's all right. And
absolutely.
We'll be back soon.
Okay.
Adios and happy trails.
You gotcha. Good night.
Good night.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.